Yo, it's your boy Master MMA, and I got another recommendation from a subscriber. Actually, the same subscriber recommending the reason why I got into MMA, and it might not be interesting to a lot of people, but it's interesting to me, and I'm sure if you're a hardcore fan, it'll kind of connect with you and hopefully bring back some memories. But they told me, why did you get into this fight? Why did you get into this sport? Why did you really start fight? I said fight. Why did you get into this sport? Why did you start to learn and get into MMA? And I think I could speak for a lot of people here when I say the 2013, 2014 era is when a lot of people, my age at least, in their early 20s, started getting into this sport. It's because of Conor McGregor. Because of Conor McGregor, because of Ronda Rousey, and it really, really put me on the map. Made me a hardcore fan, at least. But the reason I got into MMA was because of my friend Austin in high school. He was doing MMA at the time. I don't remember which art he was doing, but we would have this computer class together, and we would play this game called Bonk.io. I don't know if you guys played it, but a lot of people my age would play it in my school. Anytime we had a computer around us, it was very, very popular. And we would play this game side by side, and we would talk MMA all day. And I was a casual at the time. But I remember in 9th grade, my teacher, my history or my math teacher told me about this person called Ronda Rousey in like early would tell me about Ronda Rousey, or I don't know if it was Conor McGregor, but it really I was like, oh, who is this person? And I looked him up, and I was like, wow, that person is very good, huh? And I started watching YouTube videos on this person. It was Conor McGregor. Yeah, it was Conor. And I was like, wow, this person is very interesting. So I started looking into him, and my teacher said, she told me about Ronda Rousey, and then she talked about Conor McGregor. I believe it was 2014 or 2015. And I was like, wow, this person is very interesting. And I started looking into him, and me and my friend Austin, we would play that game, and we would start talking about it. And the more and more we played, the more he would tell me. And he started telling me about the earlier era where Tito Ortiz was the first superstar of the UFC. And I was like, okay, Tito Ortiz, when we see you around, it was like 2006, 2007. And I was like, okay, let me look into this guy. And that's when I discovered Chuck Liddell. And I was like, oh, Tito Ortiz is a superstar, but this guy Chuck Liddell beat his ass. As I looked on SureDog.com, I was like, wow, okay, Chuck Liddell. Let me see this guy. He must be good because he beat the superstar, the first superstar. And when I looked up Chuck Liddell, that's when I became a fan. That's when I was like, whoa, this guy is special. Chuck Liddell was special. The more I looked into him, I watched. The first fight I watched with Chuck Liddell was him versus Guy Mezger in Pride. And that knockout, I was like, whoa, wow, what a knockout. And till this day, I think that was his best knockout. The way he had him slumped, but it hooked me as a fan. I was like, okay, Pride is very good. My friend Austin told me Pride was very good, but UFC is where it was at. And I was like, okay, let me see how Chuck did in the UFC. And the more I saw him knock out Tito twice. I was like, whoa, this guy is awesome. You know, this was the Ice Age of the UFC, and it was only fitting that Chuck Liddell's name was the Iceman. And I think that's what really hooked me. I was like, okay, this guy's a caveman. This guy's a warrior. Chuck Liddell was the first Conor McGregor. The first polarizing figure in the sport that really, really made it pop. And Dana White will tell you the same thing. Tito Ortiz put it on the map, per se, but this guy, Chuck, was a killer. And as days went by, I started learning more and more. And me and Austin would talk more and more about, I would just yap his head off about Chuck Liddell. But he kept telling me these new guys that were in space as of that time. Because I kept talking about the older guys when I was watching. And he would tell me about this guy, Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, and, Jose Aldo, Uriah Faber, Dominic Cruz. And I was like, whoa, okay, there's a lot of people I don't know about that I gotta watch. And so I went back and I started researching some of these guys. And the first person I did after learning about Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, and Chuck Liddell, and Tito Ortiz, I already knew about the older guys. But Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo. I learned about a guy named Uriah Faber. Uriah really, really caught my eye. He caught my eye, and I was like, whoa, okay, this guy, I started watching his fights in WEC, and I was like, whoa, this guy should coach. This guy's very good. And little did I know, he had a whole team that he was teaching a lot of guys, so I looked up his team, and that's when I discovered Cody Garbrandt. And Cody Garbrandt was one of the guys that just made me a full-on hardcore fan. I rooted for that guy forever. I saw this fight against Takeyo Mizugaki, and I was like, whoa. Because I believe Dominic Cruz, I was already a fan of Dominic Cruz, and then I saw Cody Garbrandt fight Mizugaki, and I was like, wow. Wow. What a warrior. And then I heard the news in 2016, I believe it was 2016, that Cody Garbrandt was going to fight Dominic Cruz. And I was like, oh my God, this is a fight I have to watch live. So now I'm watching live fights. And I saw that fight live. And till this day, I believe Cody Garbrandt's fight against Dominic Cruz was the greatest title-winning performance we've ever seen. And it's a shame what happened to Cody Garbrandt lately, because in that fight, he dominated the Dominator. He dominated the Dominator. What a fight. What a fight that was. And it really made me grow into what I am today. A huge UFC fan. Huge MMA fan. I loved ONE FC. I loved Bellator back in the day. And Cody Garbrandt's fight just made me fall in love 100% in MMA, in UFC. I could go on and on about Cody Garbrandt's performance, but I won't do that. Because somebody that made me realize that I thought Cody Garbrandt was untouchable. And obviously today that's not the case, because, we've seen what Cody Garbrandt's done lately. But after he fought TJ Dillashaw, I was like, wow, this sport is so unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. Because I bet money on Cody Garbrandt beating TJ Dillashaw at like 15 years old, I believe. I had like $50 after working at my uncle's gas station for a little while. And I worked like 2 days a week. And so $50 was like at least one day's work. And I lost that money because of TJ Dillashaw. And that's when I became a TJ fan. And it opened my eyes to the unpredictable nature of this sport. The fact this sport is so wild and chaotic, and there's so many aspects of it. It just showed me a lot. It showed me a lot in that fight. That's really when I realized this sport is crazy. And that's why I'm a huge, huge fan. Fast forward to, I believe, 2018. I was 17. I was, 17. 2018. We had Tony Ferguson on top. And Tony Ferguson was probably one of my favorites of all time. He's like my current day Yuri Prochazka. The guy would just come and fight, relentless. I watched his fight against Enson Barboza, against Kevin Lee, and this guy just blew my mind. And, you had him and Khabib that were supposed to fight for a long, long time. I believe they had 5 scheduled fights, and all 5 of them were ruined because of crazy, crazy predicaments. Just crazy. But those guys between 2013 and 2018 really made me fall in love with this sport and opened my eyes to a lot of things that, if you told the regular person today who doesn't know MMA, they wouldn't understand. You just have to watch to become a fan. You have to get involved with people's lives in the sport to really understand. And those were the guys that made me fall in love. So shout out to Austin from high school who made me fall in love with this. He really did. That's how I became an MMA fan. And I'm sorry for my tear. It tore today. It used to be connected from here to here. It broke today when I had it up as a watch cap. I was trying to see if I could wear it as a watch cap, and when I brought it down, it snapped. But it looks good because it's like my thumbnail. So I'm kind of happy with it. Anyway, that's how I got into MMA. I know it's not too interesting to a lot of people, but yeah, that's me. It's your boy, MMA, Masked MMA. I'm out of here. Goodbye.